doing a solo and had the top of the pyramid. That's where you always were. And now you're her duet partner? I wouldn't be laughing about it.
It's still a lovely thing to do.
That's what I said. I think it is.
It's not a downgraded opportunity.
So you don't feel like that's a
gossip. Never miss this video. Please subscribe to the channel. Jill Verts didn't come to the ALDC to play games. She came for solos. And not just any solos. Kendall solos. If there's one thing Dance Moms fans learned quickly, it's that Jill will go to battle and back to make sure her daughter shines. Whether it was pushing past Abby's favoritisms, clapping back at the other moms, or orchestrating strategic alliances, Jill was always 10 steps ahead, with a leopard print purse in hand and a mission in mind. Let's dive into the most explosive, iconic, and shamelessly extra moments Jill went to war to get Kendall that coveted solo spotlight. Jill made her grand entrance in Season 2, perfectly coiffed and fully prepared to play the game. Fresh off her brief stint with Kathy at the Candy Apples Dance Center, she jumped ship and landed at the ALDC like a woman on a mission. Her goal was clear from day one: get Kendall a solo, a costume, and a permanent spot on the elite team. The first red flag? Jill tried to bribe her way in. Yes, seriously. She brought Abby a Louis Vuitton bag, trying to butter her up for solo privileges. Abby saw through it in 2 seconds flat. It didn't work, obviously, but it sent a very clear message to the moms. Jill will do whatever it takes. And that included going to war with literally every other woman in that studio. No rivalry lit a fire, quite like Jill versus Melissa when it came to solo opportunities. From Jill's perspective, Kendall was just as talented and just as worthy, but Maddie always got the first pick. And Jill was over it. There were countless moments when Jill stormed into the viewing room, accusing Melissa of sucking up to Abby behind the scenes. The truth? Melissa was playing the game, but so was Jill. Their tension exploded when Jill found out Maddie was secretly being given private rehearsals and music before anyone else. Cue World War Mom. At one point, Jill snapped. You don't think Kendall deserves a chance? She's just as good. Melissa, usually cool and collected, shot back. Maybe she should earn it. That did not sit well with Jill. She was furious and made it her full-time mission to push Kendall up Abby's ladder, no matter who she had to bulldoze along the way. If there's one clip that lives in Dance Mom's infamy, it's Jill raging in Abby's costume closet. Let's set the scene. Kendall had finally earned a solo, but was given an old, recycled costume. Meanwhile, other girls were getting custom looks with rhinestones and feathers. Jill absolutely lost it. She stormed into the costume room, flung open hangers, and shouted, "So this is how you treat my daughter? She gets this." The other moms watched in total shock. Holly called it a meltdown of epic proportions, and Christy compared her to a real housewife on a rampage. Even Abby was caught off guard, warning Jill that she was skating on thin ice. But Jill didn't care. She wanted that solo to matter. She wanted Kendall to be treated like a star, and she wasn't going to sit quietly while Abby gave her the leftovers. One of Jill's most dramatic moves came when she left the LDC again, this time to return to Candy Apples. That's right, she flipped sides after not getting her way. Kendall had been benched, and Jill took it as a personal insult. Rather than wait it out, she defected back to Kathy and demanded Kendall be treated like a featured dancer. It was betrayal of the highest order in Abby's eyes. She never forgot it. Back at Candy Apples, Jill gloated about Kendall getting solos and attention, but it was short-lived. Kathy didn't have the same caliber of choreography or competition wins. And Jill knew that. She soon realized Kendall needed the ALDC if she wanted a real dance future. So what did she do? She begged to come back. And Abby, reluctantly, let her. But the price? Trust was shattered. And solo opportunities would come with twice the fight. As Kendall improved, her solos started getting more sophisticated. Girl in the Mirror, Wear 'Em Out, and All Eyes on Me became fan favorites. But behind the scenes, Jill was constantly fighting to make sure those solos happened. There were so many times when Abby would threaten to pull Kendall's routine last minute. Sometimes it was Kendall forgetting choreography. Other times it was Jill simply getting on Abby's nerves. One wrong move and bam, solo revoked. Cue Jill yelling in the dressing room. You're not going to take this away from her again, Abby. She's worked too hard, and you know it. It was always touch and go. The other moms would just roll their eyes. Christy famously said, Jill's not going to stop until Kendall has more solos than Maddie. And that's just never going to happen. But Jill wasn't chasing Maddie. She was chasing respect. And she believed Kendall earned it. Abby and Jill's relationship was like gasoline and fire. From constant yelling matches to passive-aggressive jabs, they never truly found common ground. Abby would praise Kendall one week, then punish her the next, and Jill wasn't afraid to call it out. One of their most iconic confrontations happened during the Hair Rollers Gate episode, when Jill dared to style Kendall differently for a solo performance. Abby hated it. She blew up in front of everyone, saying Jill had no right to change a vision. Jill didn't back down. She fired back. I'm her mother. I can do her hair if I want to. Abby threatened to pull the solo. Kendall cried. Jill threatened to leave. It was pure chaos, and it became clear that every solo came with strings attached when Jill was involved. Jill was always juggling alliances. One day she was besties with Melissa. The next she was venting to Holly. She'd laugh with Christy, then throw her under the bus. Her loyalty was always rooted in one thing, Kendall's advantage. When she felt Kendall was being overlooked, she'd turn on anyone fast. Her friendship with Melissa fractured when Maddie got too many solos. She clashed with Kira when Kalani threatened Kendall's position as second best. And she had constant friction with Jesselyn, who made no apologies for JoJo stealing the spotlight. At one point, Jill cornered Jess and said, JoJo is loud and over the top, but my daughter actually dances. It was brutal. Jess called her a mean girl in a cocktail dress and accused her of bullying. Jill laughed it off, but the tension was real. For all the drama, when Kendall got a solo, she usually delivered. Her growth from Season 2 to Season 6 was undeniable. She nailed powerful jazz routines, elegant contemporary pieces, and fierce music video-style performances. She even launched a music career, thanks in part to Jill's relentless promotion. But those moments were always hard-won. Jill was constantly pushing, negotiating, pleading, and exploding behind the scenes to keep her daughter front and center. And let's be honest, it worked. Kendall became a fan favorite, not just because of her talent, but because of her journey. Viewers saw the tears, the fights, the frustrations, and knew how much it meant to both of them. By the time the team was splintering in later seasons, Jill was still pushing. In fact, she got even more intense. New girls were arriving, old favorites were returning, and Abby was getting more unpredictable. One of her final major solo fights happened when Abby gave Brynn a solo and ignored Kendall completely. Jill snapped. You're going to give a solo to a girl who just got here? What about Kendall? She's been here for years. Abby just stared, smirking. That's showbiz. Jill cried. Kendall cried. The fans cried. It was a full-circle moment of frustration. But Jill didn't walk away. She stayed in the fight until the very end, proving once again that she would never stop advocating for her daughter. Say what you want about Jill. She was dramatic, manipulative, overbearing, and chaotic, but she was a force. And she never apologized for it. Her entire journey on Dance Moms was driven by one thing, her unwavering belief that Kendall deserved to shine. And shine she did. From awkward beginner solos to main stage performances and pop stardom, Kendall's rise was real. And it wouldn't have happened without Jill hair rollers, costume freakouts, and all. Whether you loved her or loved to hate her, Jill's solo wars are legendary in Dance Moms history. Let's break down every epic moment Jill went to war for a Kendall solo, and how her hustle shaped Kendall's entire Dance Moms legacy. Season 2. Enter Jill Verts, ready for battle. After leaving Kathy and the Candy Apples, who she quickly realized weren't going to get Kendall anywhere, she marched into the ALDC with glam and ambition. Jill didn't play coy. She was transparent about her goals. I want Kendall to be on top of the pyramid. She's ready for the next level, and Abby's the one to get her there. It wasn't subtle. The other moms clocked her immediately. Christy, in classic fashion, whispered to the camera. She's already trying to bribe Abby with gifts. What's next? A fruit basket? A tiara? Jill brought Abby a designer bag as a gift, hoping to get Kendall moved up quickly. Abby accepted it, but also knew exactly what Jill was trying to do. And the moms never let her live it down. After a rocky transition from candy apples, Kendall was benched for a few episodes. But Jill wasn't about to let that stick. She started campaigning, cornering Abby, sweet-talking her, then pushing harder when it didn't work. "I just don't understand what Kendall did wrong," Jill pressed in one heated moment. "It's not about what she did wrong, it's what she hasn't done yet," Abby shot back. The pressure worked. Eventually, Kendall got a solo, only for Jill to immediately start demanding a better costume, a better song, and a better running order. Even the moms joked. Jill doesn't want a solo. She wants the solo, preferably the finale. This is Dance Moms canon. Jill's full-blown meltdown in Abby's costume closet is legendary. When Kendall was finally given a solo, she was also handed a hand-me-down costume. Jill was offended. She marched into the costume closet, rifled through racks, and screamed. "So this is what Kendall gets? A recycled rag while the other girls get new custom designs." Abby's reply? "It's not the costume that wins. It's the dancer." But Jill wasn't having it. Her tantrum became one of the most replayed moments in Dance Moms history. Christy compared her to a real housewife. Holly said Jill was on a rampage. And Abby gave her the silent treatment for a week. But Kendall kept her solo. Mission accomplished. In one of the most heartbreaking moments for Kendall, Abby gave her a solo, then pulled it hours before the performance. Why? Because Kendall got too emotional and forgot the choreography during a rehearsal. Jill went ballistic. "She's a child, Abby. She's allowed to feel things. And you're punishing her for being overwhelmed." Abby snapped back. "If she wants to dance like the best, she needs to act like the best." The other moms tried to calm Jill down, but she wasn't having it. She threatened to pull Kendall from the team altogether. But behind the drama, it was clear Kendall's career and her confidence meant everything to Jill. Jill's most dramatic move? Walking out of the ALDC when Abby didn't give Kendall the solo she wanted, and returning to Kathy and the candy apples. Again. Yes, again. The moms were stunned. How many times can you flip teams and still think you're loyal to anyone? Kathy welcomed her back with open arms, delighted to steal someone from Abby's elite squad. Jill bragged about Kendall getting solos and being featured, but the shine wore off quickly. Kathy's routines weren't strong, the wins were few, and Jill knew she'd made a mistake. So she came back. Abby grilled her hard. "So you want to leave, take my choreography, and then crawl back? Why should I give Kendall another solo?" Jill cried. Kendall cried. Abby gave in barely. But the trust was broken, and every solo after that came with extra scrutiny. Let's talk about Jill and Melissa. Friends? Enemies? Frenemies? All of the above. They bonded over being solo moms. Kendall and Maddie were often compared, but Jill always felt Maddie was being handed more. Private lessons, advanced music, extra choreography, all arranged behind the scenes. Jill eventually called Melissa out. "You can't pretend like you're not playing the game. You are." Melissa's response? "Don't punish my daughter because you're jealous." The fallout was ugly. Jill accused Melissa of backstabbing. Melissa said Jill was obsessed with getting ahead. The rest of the moms? They grabbed popcorn and watched it unfold. When JoJo Siwa joined the team, Jill instantly clocked her as a threat to Kendall's solos. JoJo's loud personality, flashy costumes, and Abby's growing affection for her made Jill very nervous. She went on the attack. "She's not even a technical dancer. She just waves her arms around and screams." Jessalyn snapped back. "She has charisma, something Kendall doesn't." That fight escalated fast, snapping, pointing, screaming. Jill called Jess unprofessional. Jess called Jill a social climber in designer heels. Abby? She loved the drama. And she kept giving JoJo solos anyway. Despite the chaos, Kendall delivered some truly iconic solos. Girl in the Mirror, soft, lyrical, and emotional. A fan favorite. Wear 'em Out, fierce, edgy, and pop star level. All Eyes on Me, confident and polished. Each win felt like a vindication for Jill. She cried in the audience. She celebrated in the dressing room. She reminded the other moms that she was right all along. Even Abby admitted it once. She's getting better. She deserves it. It wasn't enough for Kendall to win solos. Jill wanted a career. So she helped Kendall launch music videos and singles, including Work Them Out and Where Would I Be Without You. Jill worked overtime promoting the brand. Coordinated outfits. PR photo shoots. Dance routines that doubled as choreography for music videos. Abby? She felt left out. Furious that Kendall was becoming a brand without her. If you're going to go off and be a pop star, do it on your own time. Jill didn't care. She kept pushing Kendall's music, and it worked. Millions of views. A fan base. And yet, Jill still came back to fight for more solos. Because it was never just about fame, it was about proving Kendall belonged. By seasons 6 and 7, the team was falling apart. The mini-team was replacing the OGs. Abby was in legal trouble. And the moms were done. But Jill was still fighting. In one episode, Abby gave Brynn a solo and skipped over Kendall. Jill was livid. Brynn just got here. Kendall's been loyal for years. Abby shrugged. Maybe Kendall's time is up. It was a knife to the heart. Jill sobbed in the hallway. But instead of backing down, she rallied. She helped Kendall rehearse harder, pushed for better music, and advocated for senior recognition. Her final words in the reunion? All I ever wanted was for Kendall to be seen. She's earned that. Call her what you want. Dramatic, calculating, even overbearing. But Jill was relentless. And it paid off. Kendall became one of the most featured dancers in the series. She had solo wins, fan-favorite routines, and her own music career. All because Jill fought tooth and nail every single week. She cried. She yelled. She stormed off multiple times. But through it all, she believed in Kendall. And even Abby deep down respected that. So here's to Jill Verts, the leopard print solo warrior who never backed down.